Good morning. Let us talk about AM demodulation techniques for standard AM. So, what is demodulation? Getting back the message or information signal at the receiver by performing downward frequency translation or by shifting from the carrier frequency FC to the message frequency FM if it is a single tone or W if it is a band limited message signal. So demodulation is the process of getting back the original information or message signal and by performing downward frequency translation we see by shifting from carrier to message frequency. Generally, we have two types of demodulation for our standard AM or DSB FC. The first one is the envelope detector. This is the most commonly used demodulator for standard AM, and the conditions when we can use the envelope detector is, first thing, when the signal received is strong. Second, the process of envelope detection is very simple and easy. We use a diode in series with a resistor and capacitor and the job is done. And last condition what is required is the modulation index should be less than 1 or it should be under modulation. The second type of demodulator for standard AM is a square law demodulator. If you remember, we also had a square law modulator. This square law demodulator uses a similar square law procedure for detection. There we used it for modulation. Here we are using it for demodulation. And when do we use a square law demodulator? Whenever the received signal is low in strength or it's a weak signal. Next, when mu should be less than 1 or the modulation index should be less than 1 in either of the cases. And this process is little more complicated when compared to envelope detector. So let's see each of them today. First, let's see the envelope detector. So the envelope detector circuit is as shown below. It has the input as the standard AM signal, which we can call it as S of t or EAM of t. If you remember, this is 1 plus KAM of t into AC cos 2 pi FCT. Yes or no? Or we write it as AC into 1 plus KAM of t cos 2 pi FCT. RS represents the resistance of the receiving antenna, or we'll say the resistance of the signal generator if we are directly giving the AM wave from a signal generator. So the envelope detector has a diode and in series with a capacitor and resistor, and we choose the values of RL and C such that their product would be very large. So the time constant, we call it as the product of RC is always known as the time constant of the circuit. So you choose the values of RL and C such that the time constant is large. So this is an RC filter and the output is measured across this filter. So this is, if you remember, this is the circuit of a simple peak detector. So here envelope is nothing but in AM it is a imaginary line joining the peaks of the carrier throughout. Yes or no? We had an imaginary line which would trace the shape of the message. It would join all the peaks in the AM signal. It would be in the shape of the message. So that envelope we have to detect here. This envelope detector is a very simple and highly effective demodulator. Even in equipment, something like TV and all, they used to use envelope detector only for detection of sound. In television, they used to transmit sound using AM waves. Then this AM or envelope detector was the easiest and best circuit used in such complicated equipment also. It's used in commercial radio receivers, AM radio receivers for sure. And the circuit diagram of envelope detector is shown below. You can see here, this is the circuit diagram. And in this demodulator, the condition is the AM wave which we use should be narrow band, which means the carrier frequency FC should be much larger than the message frequency as well as the bandwidth of the message. If I say the bandwidth of the message is W, FC should be much greater than W. The percentage modulation mu should be less than 1. Envelope detector consists of diode and resistor capacitor filter. So let's try to analyze the working of this circuit. During positive half cycle of the input signal, the diode will be forward biased and the capacitor charges rapidly to the peak value of the input signal. So if I just show you here, see, say for example, this is your I can't draw it very neatly here because I'm doing it with a mouse. Anyway, say this is the AM wave which you had. Okay, this is the AM signal. Here, during positive half cycle, the capacitor charges to this peak value of the input signal. Because what happens here, the diode which we have here, this diode gets forward biased. You give a positive half cycle of the voltage from the AM signal. Naturally, this diode will be forward biased. It acts like a conducting switch. Yes or no? During forward bias, this acts like a conducting switch and it will send a current through this capacitor. So current starts flowing to this capacitor, charging this capacitor to the peak value of the input signal. Whatever was the input signal to VI peak, it will charge this capacitor to the peak value as I showed here. Okay. Next. So when the input signal falls below this value, then the diode gets reverse biased and the capacitor discharges through the resistance till the input starts increasing again. So to show you this clearly, say here during this part when the input has started decreasing. So when the input is decreasing here, what happens to this diode? Here the voltage across capacitor is at this value. So the voltage across capacitor has reached the peak value, this maximum value, the voltage across capacitor has reached. So the voltage at the cathode is what? Greater than the voltage at the anode. So here the voltage of the input is decreasing below the peak, but this capacitor is at the peak voltage. So naturally this diode will be off. It will be reverse biased. So this diode will not be conducting now. So if the diode is not conducting, if this diode is off, this diode is switched off, then no current flows. I don't have any current here. If I don't have any current, what will happen to the output now? The output also includes a resistor, if you remember, and the output is measured across this resistor. So what happens, since there is no extra current for the capacitor to charge, this capacitor will try to lose its charges. And how can it lose its charges? It will start sending a current through this resistor which is connected across it. Remember, this resistance of a non-conducting diode is ideally infinite, or it's an open circuit. So the capacitor can't send its charges in this direction. It should send only through this resistor, and it starts discharging. So if the capacitor starts discharging, and if I choose the value of this product, resistance into capacitance, to be quite high, if I choose the value of RL into C to be large, then I can make the capacitor to discharge much slowly as compared to this input signal. So the capacitor will not follow the input signal, but it will start discharging slowly. Are you following? So the capacitor would have discharged only till here. By the time this input here will start increasing again. So VI will start increasing again, and again what happens? This diode will be forward biased. Again the capacitor goes through this charging cycle. So once the input has increased here, the capacitor will again start following the input till this peak. So at this peak, what happens? Again diode is reverse biased. The capacitor discharges, and the capacitor is made to discharge slowly. So it will discharge like this till the input increases again. Again when the input increases, capacitor charges because diode is on, and when the input decreases, the capacitor discharges through the resistor. So you will trace the envelope of the AM signal in this fashion. This is the working of an envelope detector, and hope you understood. It's a very simple peak detector circuit and a very useful circuit in AM detection. So during positive half cycle of the input signal, diode is forward biased. Capacitor charges rapidly to the peak value of the input. When the input signal falls below this value, diode will be reverse biased and capacitor discharges through the resistance until it encounters the next positive half cycle of the input. When the input signal becomes greater than voltage across capacitor, which means voltage at the anode of the diode is more than the voltage at the cathode. Capacitor is at the cathode. Diode conducts again, and the process is repeated to produce the shape of the message, but with a small ripple. So let's see how I'll show you the waveform. Afterwards, we'll just go through. See, the waveform looks like this. If this is our AM signal, S of t, every time, the first time the capacitor, please remember, for the first time it starts from 0, it should charge like this. It should follow the shape of the message and reach the peak. Afterwards, in the consecutive half cycles, it will be discharging slowly till it encounters the next peak, and this is how it happens. Okay. So at steady state, we'll say we are continuing from the previous case. So it looks like this. Is this clear? This is how it works. So the shape of the actual message is sinusoidal in shape, which is carried in this imaginary line joining all the peaks in the AM wave. And we are able to get back that imaginary line using this envelope or peak detector. Only thing is, we have a small ripple in this sine wave, which could be easily eliminated by using a simple capacitor filter or something like that. Anyway, so let's see what is the charging time and discharging time. If we assume the diode is ideal and the AM wave is applied to the envelope detector, it is supplied by a signal source having internal resistance Rs. Then what is the charging time? The charging time will be Rf, which represents the resistance of the conducting diode. Remember, this is very small. It can be 5 ohms, 10 ohms. So the resistance of a conducting diode is Rf, plus Rs represents the resistance of the source or the receiving antenna. So the time taken for this capacitor to charge, please remember, I have the internal resistance of the source, the internal resistance of the diode. This is RF, okay, and this is RS, and we have the capacitor C here, and this capacitor is charging through a current flowing in this direction. So naturally, what is the charging time constant? RF plus RS into C. And this charging time constant should be what? We have two conditions. It should be less than the time period of the carrier. I'll explain why this is so in the next slide. So RF plus RS into C should be much less than the time period of the carrier, for the simple reason that it should follow the input. As the input changes, the capacitor should also, voltage across capacitor should also change. So we need this time constant RF plus RS into C to be much less than the time period of the carrier. So it is the carrier which is changing. As the carrier changes, the voltage across capacitor should follow it. Okay, it should not miss. That's why it should be less than 1 by Fc. So capacitor will now charge rapidly or very fast, and hence it follows the applied voltage until the positive peak when the diode is conducting it, until it reaches the positive peak. Okay. Next comes the discharging time constant. Remember, the capacitor discharges through the resistance RL because diode will be off at that point of time. So this discharging time constant should be long enough to ensure that the capacitor discharges slowly. We don't want the capacitor to discharge along with the carrier. So remember, the carrier will, so once it reaches the peak, the carrier will fall suddenly like this until it goes to the next higher peak. I don't want, so the capacitor would have charged along with this. We don't want the capacitor to discharge fully and then charge again to the next peak. This is just a waste of, it won't trace the envelope of the message. Remember, the envelope of the message is in the peaks of the carrier. It should not track the complete carrier, but only the peaks of the carrier. So for this condition to be satisfied, we'll make the resistance RL into C, the time constant for discharging RL into C, to be large enough that it should follow all the peaks even when the signal is decreasing. So remember, when the message signal is increasing and decreasing, it should follow all the peaks. Okay, but it shouldn't be so long that it will miss out few peaks and directly go and track only the topmost positions in the AM signal. I'll show you this with the waveform. So the ideal condition for this discharging time constant, very, very important, please note, is that it should be much, much greater than the carrier time period 1 by Fc, but much, much less than the message signal time period 1 by W, where W represents the highest frequency component of the message, or we also can say it is bandwidth of the message. So the two conditions which I stated, I can show you here. You see. So here, supposing what happens. Okay. See, it has the capacitor has reached this peak. It has charged to the peak along with this, because RF plus RS into C is much, much less than the time period. What is the time period of the carrier? This is the time period of the carrier, which is 1 by Fc. Okay. So since this charging time constant is less than this, the capacitor will charge along with the carrier. It will raise along with the input. But if I make this capacitor, if we don't satisfy this condition, then the capacitor will take more time to reach the peak. It would miss this first peak. It may reach the peak somewhere here. So the capacitor will, and here the signal is again not there. It would reach the peak slowly. This shouldn't happen. That's why we will choose what? This charging time to be much less than that of the carrier. Now, coming to the discharging time, we want RL into C. We want the discharging time RL into C to be what? Greater than that of 1 by FC or TC, the time period of the carrier, so that it will discharge slowly like this, and it shouldn't discharge suddenly like this. It shouldn't discharge very fast. Then you can imagine how the waveform will look. Charge, discharge, charge, discharge. So it will have a very high ripple factor. It will charge fast, charge, discharge. So the capacitor waveform will look something like this with a very high ripple factor. So that condition can be avoided if we consider RL into C to be much greater than 1 by FC. I hope you followed. That's the first condition. And the second condition is RL into C should be much less than the time period of the message. If I consider a single tone, here anyhow we have drawn a single tone signal. So it should be much less than 1 by FM or much less than 1 by W if we consider many tones in the message or a band limited message. So what is 1 by FM? 1 by FM is the distance between two peaks. Let me say this will reach the peak somewhere here. Okay. So this 1 by FM is the distance between, okay, I hope you are able to understand. 1 by FM is the distance between the two maximas in the envelope of the message. So this point represents one maximum. See, in this lower wave, here I have one maxima, and by the time I reach the next maxima somewhere here. So this distance is 1 by FM or 1 by W, right? The time period of the message. So why do you want it to be less than 1 by FM? Otherwise, what would happen? If you don't choose it to be less than 1 by FM, what do you think would happen? See, this, once this capacitor reaches this peak, it has reached this peak. From here, it may start discharging so slowly that it will only track the next peak in the message. You see, it will miss out on all the subsequent peaks. It will start discharging so slowly because if I don't choose this condition that it should be less than the time period of the message, it will, if we keep it as almost equal to time period of the message, this will discharge very slowly so that it will track only the peaks in the message, and I will lose all these points and I'll not be able to get this shape of the message. So I'll miss out on the shape of the message if we don't satisfy this second condition. And this process wherein what? Wherein I'll track only the subsequent peaks like this is called diagonal peak clipping. So this is a process which is known as diagonal peak clipping, and this happens if the second condition, that is RL into C, is not less than 1 by FM, and or if that condition is not satisfied. So this should be avoided, and we should ensure that both these conditions are satisfied. So what are those conditions or constraints to be put on RL into C? First thing, it should be much greater than 1 by FC or the carrier time period. This is to reduce the ripple in the output waveform and to get a smoother shape of the message signal. The second condition is RL into C should be much less than 1 by FM, which means this will avoid diagonal peak clipping and it will track the falling part of the message envelope correctly. Okay, so these are the two important conditions for envelope detector which should be satisfied and we have to remember. So I'll stop here.